Hey everyone, it's Dan Franklin, your media literacy expert. Today, let's talk about the Jay-Z paternity saga with his alleged son, Ramir. I've reviewed the motions, court orders, and the transcripts, and I have some things that I do think you should know about this case. Let's get into it. So let's go back in time to 2010 when Ramir's mother, Wanda, who has since passed, initially filed where Jay-Z was even involved in this case. So in 2010, Ramir's mother filed in court and asked the Pennsylvania courts to compel a DNA test from both Robert Graves, who at the time had been paying child support for Ramir for about 17 years at that point, and Jay-Z. So now the courts did receive a DNA test from Robert Graves, and it turned out he was not the father, and so he was excluded. After the DNA test ruled that he was not the father. However, the courts denied Jay-Z's petition. Ruling, and this is what it says, ruling a new father claims after 17 years violates family justice rules. Subsequent refilings were denied. Also, she tried to file an appeal. However, it wasn't within the 30 days, which is required by law, and so they were denied. That's what's so. It also says Jay-Z was never ordered to submit a DNA test in Pennsylvania. These rulings hold through the appeal process. So throughout the appeal processes and the subsequent refilings, that initial ruling has been the same. Jay-Z has never been required, as of right now, to submit a DNA test from the courts. And this was back in this initial filing was in 2010 when Ramir's mother was still alive. But that really does speak, and so now I'm going to speak just personally what was going on. A little bit of background. At the time when Ramir's mother conceived him, I believe she was like 7 to 16 years old, or would have been, right? Based off the dates. And Jay-Z would have been 23. So a lot of people think that the reason Jay-Z's not interested in doing a DNA test and being involved in this case at all, because it would retroactively make him, someone who, essayed or a minor. And so, that could be, I'm not in Jay-Z's mind. I'm not on his legal team. I'm not on his I don't do anything for him, but I would assume that you would not want that to come out, especially if you were able to avoid any accountability, even publicly, for so many years. That's what some people think. Jay-Z has the right, if he's not being court ordered, not to submit his DNA. I think in a world where now people, have done, 23andMe and Ancestry.com, we've normalized submitting our DNA to, public companies. And some would say that that's not smart. I don't know if you know about it, but 23andMe filed bankruptcy. And so whomever purchases that data they've collected, has access to, tons of people's, DNA profiles. Which is kind of scary. So I can understand, even from a practical perspective, if I'm not required and I don't think that this is my child, why would I submit my DNA just to prove a point? And then now I have my DNA in the system. I don't know if that's true. That's just what I'm thinking. I'm just throwing that out there. That could be why. And he could just be full of shit. I don't know. So let's talk about the New Jersey filings that were filed by Ramir's godmother. Okay, so it says that later petitions in New Jersey filed by Ramir's godmother was dismissed due to lack of jurisdiction. New Jersey recognizes Pennsylvania's previous ruling and imposed an injunction in 2022, preventing further filings without court's permission. So, yeah, they attempted to file this case in New Jersey after it already had been a ruling in Pennsylvania, and there was an injunction due to the fact that Pennsylvania already reviewed the evidence and made a ruling on it. So that's at this point in this story, which is really, really strange that they would do that. I'm thinking it's because there's a lack of understanding of the law. And so all their I's and T's weren't crossed. This is why you should have legal counsel. Or if they did, I don't know, I'm sorry, right here, who, if they had any type of attorney involved in this, from what the information that I have right now. But it looks like, that court in New Jersey said, hey, we've already, a judge already ruled on this, and so I'm not going to go over their head and make any other ruling just because you're filing it now in New Jersey, because allegedly Jay-Z was living in New Jersey at the time, and so that was the route they were trying to go. And again, they weren't able to substantiate those claims either, and so, it was thrown out. So they have it. So let's see what's next. So let's talk about the federal case in California as well as the dismissals. And forgive me for looking down. I'm reading my notes. I'm not, that cool where I just remember everything or have it on my screen while I'm talking like a teleprompter. So don't mind me. But the first thing is, it says, in May 2025, Ramir filed a new lawsuit in California, not for paternity, but accusing Jay-Z of legal misconduct, fraud, abuse of process, and diluting constitutional rights. That's what he filed in May. Now, Jay-Z's team sought dismissal, saying that basically the filings were not submitted properly. So there were some hiccups. Ramir is actually defending himself. He's representing himself. And because of that, I think there might be some gaps in understanding how to properly file. And this is why it's important to have an attorney or legal counsel. It's kind of shocking. This is just a random thought. With all these celebrities that kind of hate Jay-Z, I don't understand why none of them are helping him with his legal fees. I don't know. Like Nicki Minaj has been going on this tirade about Jay-Z over the last, couple years. And she's even been calling out this case, spreading a lot of misinformation, by the way. But I don't see why she doesn't help him, with some type of legal support, because he actually filed the subpoena, filed the documents incorrectly, which then Jay-Z, having, attorneys that were able to see these, these errors in the filing, were able to say, hey, this is up for dismissal because it wasn't even filed correctly. That's just my own thoughts. Sorry, that's not pertaining case. It's just me sharing what I think. Another thing is that, what else it says? It says, also, it's just Jay-Z saying, hey, he has a right to defend himself in the courts, and that's what he's doing, and requested that this lawsuit be dismissed. However, on July 18th, 2025, Ramir voluntarily withdrew the federal lawsuit. Okay? So let's be clear. Ramir, the plaintiff, voluntarily withdrew the lawsuit against Jay-Z. Now, he has said that he still has interest in going after Jay-Z, and pursuing this case in some other ways. And so we'll have to wait and see. But this current case has been dismissed. The other cases were also dismissed because of improper filing as well. So there seems to be, of course, the one in Pennsylvania, there was a ruling, and then they've tried these other avenues, and they've all failed up until this point. So that's where he's at with this particular case. It has been withdrawn. I do want to say Jay-Z, as of right now, has not been court ordered to take a DNA test. So no courts have required Jay-Z legally to take a DNA test to prove that he is not Ramir's biological father. Let's just be clear about that. So if you see any reports about Jay-Z not doing it, even though it was court ordered, that is false. No court up until this point has ordered him to do so. Of course, if that changes, I will be the first to let you know with the actual filings. Yeah, there we go. So now, the current status of this case and also what's next. So as of now, Jay-Z has not, performed a DNA test, and legally he's not required. His attorneys have characterized Ramir's repeated filings as decade-long harassment, and the courts, for the most part, have supported this view based off the legal documents. It says Ramir, he insists that he's going to continue to, seek legal action against Jay-Z. He claims that he intends to leverage, internal legal filings, as well as just other possible filings to pursue this case in some way. However, due to jurisdiction issues as well as repetitive filings, he probably can't do all that he wants to do. Is going to have to take a different approach if he's going to do that, based off, the way in which he's tried to file these in the courts. There's been, clearly some error in how things have been filed. Also, a lack of understanding of certain laws and how they work and jurisdictions. I mean, this is why you should have an attorney. And I mean, let's be honest, I wouldn't be wanting to go to court with a billionaire, who has access to the best lawyers. I'm not saying that this means, what Ramir is saying is true, but what it means is that, Jay-Z's team, he has access to attorneys that can argue his point in a more effective way because he has the resources to do that. And that is a little bit of like, so we'll have to see. Of course, everything I'm reporting, there are links to what I'm reporting so that if you choose to, you can verify the information. But of course, I've done that for you. Okay. So I want to know from you, do you still think that Jay-Z should take a DNA test? Let me know in the comments. Also, do you think Ramir's filings or legal fights have merit, or just legal, or is this just legal strategy, and prolonging the process? What I do know for sure is this case is a great demonstration of why leading literacy is so important. There's so many people reposting, and I'm talking about like major stars, Nicki Minaj and 50 Cent, tweeting, information about this that is inaccurate or that's misleading. And so it's quick for a false narrative to take a hold. And so it's really important to have, to know, not only know how to like vet information for yourself, but also having someone and people and news sites that you can count on that is only going to report what's facts and not engage in fluff. Anyway, this is Dan Franklin, your media literacy specialist, making sure that you are knowing the facts and not being tricked by clickbait and false AIs and narratives, but you know it's actually real in news media and pop culture. Like and follow and subscribe for more. I look forward to seeing you soon. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.